Hey guys, welcome back to another Game Leap LoL Challenger Guides. I'm LoL Midorima, and today we'll be going over a patch 14.3 item rundown. If you guys are looking for the champion rundown and the changes in patch 14.3, you should look at the video posted prior, as this will be specifically covering all the items that we didn't cover in the last video. Before we begin, make sure to check out GameLeap.com for hundreds of pro League of Legends guides made by Challenger coaches. We've got macro guides, courses for all the meta champions, and more. Click the link in the description box below to get your free LP now. Starting off with system buffs, Ginsu's Rageblade. Recipe is changing from Amp Tome, Hearthbound Axe, Longsword, and 1050 gold to Amplifying Tome, Recurve Bow, Pickaxe, and it's going to finish off with 125 gold. AD is going from 30 to 35. AP is going from 30 to 35. So this is going to change pretty useful for champions such as Kai'Sa, where Kai'Sa was kind of lost for a while, and the Ginsu's Rageblade wasn't that good because Hearthbound Axe was really expensive, and to get Longsword to get a key upgrade took way too long. Now that you are now unlocked with a Pickaxe, this item is going to be very good on her. As for other champions, I'm not too sure about where the Ginsu's Rageblade buff is going to be helping. Essence Reaver, AD buff, 55 to 60. This item was very strong already and is now only getting stronger. A bonus 5 AD is going to help a lot of champions such as Ezreal and the assassins such as Rengar, and so maybe this will go back into his build. Luden's Companion, cost 3,000 gold to 2,900 gold, AP 90 to 95, damage per stack 40 plus 8% AP to 45 plus 4% AP. So this is going to be a little bit weird, as Luden's has had a very hard time fitting into the meta, in my opinion, with mages preferring items such as Seraphs, or they're going Leandries, and mana is basically being used for Malignant. So with the cost going down by 100, that does help a little bit, and the AP going up by 5. But the fact that they're taking away from the damage per stack is going to hurt this item a bit. It is very weird to see where this item will go from here on. Malignants cost 2,800 to 2,700. DOT AP ratio goes from 60% to 5%. MR shred goes from 6% and 12% to 10 flat. That is going to be very interesting, as Malignant was already a very strong item, very core on a lot of champions such as the Swain, the Malzahar, the AP Karma variant, and Corki. So this is going to be a really big buff. I don't think this item really needed this buff, but the fact that it's taking the MR shred from a scaling aspect to a immediate 10 flat on the higher end is going to help the early game quite a bit. Sheen, cost 1,000 to 900. That's pretty helpful. Sheen was a very hard item to obtain early game, so taking it down by 100 gold is really nice. Archangel slash Seraphs, cost 3,000 to 2,900. We are just basically lowering the cost of mage items by 100 gold. Rod of Ages, regular health 350 to 400, regular mana 300 to 400. This is going to help champions such as Silas, who has a very weird build path now. He can either go the one-shot Storm Surge to now back to being a AP Bruiser-like champion with the Rod of Ages. This is also going to help champions, I believe, such as a Vigar, who is also lost in builds. He misses this Rod of Ages since there is no more Crown, there's no more Everfrost, and so Rod of Ages is a pretty good item for him. So that's going to be all for the item buffs. A decent amount of changes here, very minuscule, but they are helpful in most cases. System nerfs. Collector, AD 60 to 55. This is actually a pretty needed buff, or a pretty needed nerf rather, as Collector has been very strong for ADCs in general, with the lethality items going rampant, and so this will help knock it down a little bit. Hextech Alternator, damage goes from 5125 to 65 flat. Wow, that is quite the nerf. To take it down to almost the lower half of the scaling aspect of it, that is going to hurt this item a lot. Hextech Alternator used to be a very strong item to build early game, as it would help you win the lane phase really easily if you just keep on proccing it off cooldown. But now that it went from the scaling aspect to just 65 flat, it's going to be interesting to see where this item goes. Hextech Rocket Belt, damage 125 plus 15% AP to 100 plus 10% AP. So they nerfed the bonus AP scaling of it by 5%, and they lowered the base damage by 25 damage. That makes a decent chunk of sense. There have been two items that AP Assassins have been running a lot, and that is going to be the Hextech Tech Rocket Belt and the Lichbane, because these items are giving a lot of really good AP stat wise, and their actives or passives are very, very strong as well. So taking that down is going to help. And up next, we're going to talk about the Lichbane nerf. Sheen base AD ratio goes from 100% to 75. That's going to hurt just a little bit, but because most AP assassins don't build AD to increase that ratio, this just lowers the minimum damage, in my opinion, just by a little bit. I think it's going in the right direction, but needs a little bit more work. Koenig Rukern. Shield health ratio 20% max HP to 18% max HP. Shield cooldown 12 seconds to 15 seconds. This item is getting a little bit of a slap on the wrist with the 2% max HP nerf and the plus 3 seconds to get the shield back. I think this item is still going to be very, very staple on a lot of utility tanks in both top and jungle. I think that the shield amount is still way too high and the stats are still way too good for its price. And so again, just a slap on the wrist, this item's still gonna be very, very good. Yumi's Ghostblade out of combat MS goes from 40 for both range and melees to 40 for melees and 25 for range. The active MS is changing from 20% for both to 20% for melees and 15% for range. This is because, again, a lot of lethality AD carries have been taking over, with Jhin and Varus being the two most popular ones, MF as well. And so the Collector nerf alongside the Yumi's Ghostblade nerf is definitely going to take them down a little bit of a notch. I think these items are still going to be pretty good, as choices for lethality items on ADCs is very small. You basically build the same 4 to 5 lethality items on every lethality ADC, and so this item will still be okay. It just hurts a slight bit. Echoes of Helia, heal per shard 20 to 40, damage per shard 55 to 45. So Echoes of Helia is going to be upping more on the healing aspect, but going down on the damage aspect. Now, this item has been shadowed, and with these changes, it's still probably going to be overshadowed by the items such as the Ardent, Death Flowing Water, and Moonstone, and Dawn Core. So I don't really see Echoes of Helia making that much of a comeback or resurgence with these changes. Kraken Slayer, base damage 3585 to 140 310. Whoa! AD ratio removed, AP ratio removed. So by taking out Kraken Slayer's quote unquote scaling aspect of it through bonus AD, they're now giving it a ton of base damage, which honestly overshadows almost all forms of scaling at this point. Kraken Slayer, AD carries are definitely going to be back in the meta, so be ready to look out for the Lucian Kraken Slayer instead of the Storm Surge, or Storm Razor rather, and definitely be on the lookout for champions like Vayne and Zeri that use Kraken Slayer very, very well. That's really interesting. Profane Hydra, cleave AD ratio 40% 20% to 50% 25%. Active bonus damage against low health targets 150% to 130%. So the wave clear aspect of Profane Hydra is going up, but the active is going down. This makes a slight bit of sense, as champions who build Profane Hydra like having that for the wave clear, but they mainly built Profane Hydra because not only did it already help with the wave clear enough, it was more or less for that execute damage of 150% and a super good build path. So Profane Hydra is still gonna be really, really good. It's just changing the execution part of it for wave clear, which is a pretty good change. I think it does answer in the right places. It gives you more of a stat that you don't really use a whole lot. It's nice, but it's now better, and you're taking away from its objective purpose. Static Shiv cost 3,000 to 2,700. Champion base damage goes from 100, 180 to 90 flat. So they're basically nerfing this item by taking out its wave clear ability, but they're nerfing its cost. I think that the era of Static Shiv is coming to an end soon if this is not enough. Taking down my 300 gold definitely does help it a lot. But the fact that this item will not provide you enough value now with the 90 flat means later on in the game, your Static Shiv will not be helping you one-shot waves anymore. Storm Razor, base damage 90 to 100, AD ratio removed, movement speed duration 1 second to 1.5 seconds. Taking away the AD ratio is hurting Storm Razor a lot. This is gonna basically take out a lot of that AD LeBlanc playstyle. This might even hurt Lucian a decent chunk because he really liked base AD over attack speed anyways. And so Kraken Slayer AD carries are definitely gonna come back over the initial burst ones with Storm Razor. That's what I'm learning learning from this. Storm Surge, AP 90 to 95, base damage 101 to 200 is now 140 flat. So they're buffing the AP by 5 and they are nerfing the base damage to the lower end of the scaling spectrum by 60. And so it's going to be at 140 flat. Storm Surge is still going to be really good. I think the stats that it gives of the raw AP, the early magic pen is super good. Just reducing its base damage on the proc is definitely not enough. So I think Storm Surge is moving in the right direction to becoming a very balanced item in my opinion. Stridebreaker, health 400 to 450, AD 55 to 50. Recipe, Phage, Pickaxe, Dagger, 725 gold is now changing to Tiamat, Phage, Dagger plus 700 gold. The cooldown is 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Active cooldown, 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Active now gains 60% or 80% AD physical damage and now deals 40% for melee, 20% for range, AD physical damage when cleaved passively. So Stridebreaker has been taken out of the meta after not being able to deal damage when you activate it. It just slowed targets before, and the build path was honestly pretty bad. Now this is going to give champions such as Garen a comeback into with that item because now he has the bonus health. The AD, he's not going to miss that much because now he has a better form of wave clear with the Tiamat, and he's going to be able to actually deal damage with that slow again. And so this is going to help a decent bit alongside the cooldown going down by 5 seconds. I'd say this item is making its comeback and its return very fast. Sundered Sky, health 300 to 450, AD 55 to 45. Wow, that item is getting a pretty big nerf. Losing 10 AD in exchange for 150 health is not the direction you really want to go. Bruisers they like the bonus health, don't get me wrong, but that's not enough to warrant losing 10 AD over it. So we're going to see where Sundered Sky is going to end up on these bruiser champions now, whether it's going to be stop being a rushed item or if it's going to be held out until way later, because rushing an item that only gives you 45 AD, I can't imagine it being all that great. Titanic Hydra, health 500 to 550. Active primary target health ratio goes from 6% for melee, 3% range, max HP to 4% to 2%. This item is basically losing its touch for the active proc damage, but you are getting 50 HP for it. In my opinion, this is going to be a sizable nerf because the 2% of max HP is going to hurt it a bit, but it's still going to be a valid and useful item simply because Titanic Hydra has a very niche purpose, and that is for the auto attack reset. As long as there is above, I think, 3% of the max HP for the melee champions, I think this item is still going to be very strong on the Xin Zhao and even Tank Shyvana and champions such as that. So definitely not out of the count, but you will feel the nerf, but you still get that attack speed reset. So that is all for this item rundown for patch 14.3. Like I said, the champions was really long. The items are slightly less long, but still long. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to check out GameLeap.com for all our guides that include the macro, the champions, the items, everything that you could ever want in guides for League of Legends, you can find at GameLeap.com. Click on the link in the description to get your free LP now. Thank you guys for watching.